Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Good Guys Talk Back, episode 212. I am Nick Murawski. This is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. You can find this podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us on the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we try to do this on Sunday nights, sometimes Monday nights, but we've got a pretty good track record of Sunday nights. We are on Twitter at Good Guys TB, Facebook fan page, all that great stuff. Really appreciate you passing this podcast along to other Sox fans in your life as we're inching closer to that opening day. So much to get to. I got to bring in my good friend, lifelong White Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Nick, it's fantastic to talk to you. But before we get into, the shenanigans and the fun of our show that we do every week, we bring to you every week, and it's fun to talk White Sox baseball. We're inching closer to regular season, but I do have to take a moment for some serious conversation. I've got to maybe a moment of silence even for NWI Steve, whose Purdue Boilermakers unceremoniously lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to a 16 seed. And I know that he's a boisterous, big Purdue fan and puts his stones on the line every game to let everybody know how big a Boilermaker fan he is. And I can't understand how crushed he is at this moment. I know he'll never listen to this podcast, but my heart goes out to him and all of Purdue Nation. For their, really embarrassing loss in the first round. And
our neighbors to the east. It's just a real shame.
So anyway, I got that out of the way. Our very quick moment of silence. Just thought I'd send it out to our friend NWI Steve. So
you want it back? I'll get him on the show next week, and you can.
Because he'll come after me. I'd rather do.
He's a big dude, by the way. He's a big.
I'd rather do all of this behind his back without his knowing on a live podcast. So knowing that he won't make it over here. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I consumed a lot of White Sox baseball over this past weekend. I did not fill out a single bracket.
Yeah, well, it's the same as mine. It's in the garbage because
that's what I've heard.
You just lit it on fire after the first 3 games.
Purdue lost, did it go like 20 million brackets were filled out, and there are zero solid brackets at that point.
Well, I will tell you that we had the office at ESPN 1000 was in shock. We had one person in the office pool that was perfect through day one. And God bless him, Charlie Bevins, one of our producers, had a perfect bracket. After that, it was trash, but it was unbelievable that anybody had a perfect bracket after the first day in our little office pool. So well, it is what it is. It's March Madness. It never disappoints. I love it. I know you're not as into it as other folks are. I don't care about college basketball until the conference tournaments. But the NCAA tournament, it never disappoints. It's always fun. It's always unpredictable. And whether you win money or lose money, it's $25 well spent in my book.
Yeah, it is a fun time to just head over to a bar or wherever, and you just sit there and you're watching some exciting basketball. You never know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you, people don't believe me when I say like I'm all in on the White Sox. Yes, I follow other teams and I'm a sports fan, absolutely, but man, I am all in on the White Sox. So I'll watch a little tournament action. We'll talk some WBC. World Baseball Classic has been exciting, but man, I didn't get a bracket this year. I've just been focused on our Sox. Watched them on Friday. They were on NBC Sports Chicago, the St. Patty's Day game against the Cubs, and then through the app, the MLB TV app, I watched him on Saturday against the Dodgers with Kopech on the mound, and watched a little bit on Sunday with Cease on the mound against the Mariners. So. Saw some interesting stuff. Three starters that are going to be in our rotation, getting some work in. Everybody's working on something. Clevenger's comments on his outing were the most spring training of all comments I think I've read in a long, long time. Like he was working on like specific stuff. So, we'll get to. we'll get to some performances. I want to talk some Last Comiskey Park 3 because that dropped this past Thursday. Anything right off the bat catch you? Something that you're like, man, I gotta make sure I talk about this past week.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I haven't watched episode 3 yet. I haven't had an opportunity. Big birthday party at the house. I've been busy ever since I got home from the office this past week. So don't spoil it for me. But give me just general impressions of what you saw. I will consume it as soon as humanly possible. But you tell me what you thought. I saw somebody commented. It brought him to tears. I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but that makes me just more and more excited to watch it.
I mean, I thought it was a really, it was a sweet way to end it. I particularly liked, it kind of went silent. There was some organ music, and you heard some of the crowd just from these videotapes that they had compiled over the years on that specific last day, though, on that last day of Comiskey in September, that last game, and just, kind of letting the viewer just take it all in.
Yeah.
Almost like after a great broadcaster, a game just finished or a great play just happened, and they know that just to stop talking. Yeah. Let the viewer just take it all in. Let the moment breathe, so to speak. I thought it was it was crafted so well. Obviously, the bullpen was focused on primarily in episode 3, and just the wild bunch that they were. And Bobby Thigpen was always just a favorite of mine for, obvious reasons, but Scott Radinsky, like it's so enjoyable, and how they, were able to kind of like, just click it on when they needed to click it on, and you're going to really enjoy it. It tied everything together. It was well done.
Do you make an appearance in episode 3?
I do. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't now I can't wait to watch. Yeah. Can I just fast forward to what minute do you jump in here?
Oh, you know what? I don't know the minute. The subject matter is Harold Baines being acquired by the Oakland Athletics. If you remember that.
I do remember that.
It was just such a, just a needle into our sides. It was something that I don't think the Athletics needed, but it's like they got this guy that the White Sox have retired his number, and the Sox are trying to catch them, and it was real salt in the wound. But yeah, it's out there. I really am happy for those guys. They're getting a lot of play, the Flesh brothers, as they should. And it's who knows what's going to happen with this, but I think this will continue to build, and I might watch it, a few more times.
Now, I know that we've talked with those guys, and maybe it was in just conversation. Maybe it was a question you asked at one point, or we were just talking about, but what other, documentary of a moment in time would you like to see outside of 2005? I think you and I both agree. Maybe that 93 team would be worthy of some more discussion. So I'd love to see them take that opportunity and run with it a little bit again with something else, a new challenge for them if they wanted to. But it would be really fun to see them take this and go to there's not a ton of great winning seasons, but this team still has a rich history on the South Side of a lot of great moments and passion, from the fan bases. So I'd love to see them do something, added on to this. It's just the publicity they've gotten and doing more, I think, is warranted.
Yeah. Those early 90 moments when they definitely took a new attitude, the White Sox, and took a different direction marketing, and the young talent that they talk about in 1990 really grows into its own in the early 90s. Thus, 93, 94, and so you can even do a 93, 94. And that's 94 is kind of how you finish it, of that disappointment.
You have that disappointment, and the owner of the ball club is ensconced in the reason why there wasn't a season.
Yeah,
right. It was heavily because of Jerry Reinsdorf and his position, and the way he, how he was brought to the forefront, and it was ironic that it was a lot to do with him. And the reason why the
If
season didn't continue.
if Matt Flesh is listening, I thought about this, and I was wondering if he could somehow partner with the authors of that Chili Dog MVP book, John Owens and David Fletcher. It came out last year, essentially about Dick Allen in that 1972 year he had.
Yeah.
And in the book, though, there are so many other threads about, the Sox potentially leaving Chicago and multiple different reasons why, and Bud Selig's involvement, and is it Seattle, is it maybe Milwaukee that they're going, and Dick Allen really saved the White Sox, saved them from leaving, and kept them on the South Side, and that to get that brought to life and to get that story go from a book now to a documentary, that would be so important for White Sox fans to digest, because there's a lot more than just that 72 team. There's a lot of other things going on, but I think Dick Allen's a guy that needs to be remembered. He didn't spend a ton of time on the White Sox, but it was impactful. And to have his story then be brought to life that way, I think would be kind of cool.
And then eventually someday we get to the year and a half plus of the TLR redemption story that didn't happen on the South Side.
That's going to be told somehow, some way. I do.
Yeah.
We're starting to get some things out. The Whisperer, Bob Nightingale, he had an article a couple weeks ago in the USA Today about, almost trying to, clear Tony La Russa of all.
Was he on trial?
If you haven't read it, folks, it was a goofy, like, why are you writing this? Who told you from the White Sox organization you need to write this?
Right.
Kind of clearing Tony La Russa and absolving him. And it was interesting, Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly spoke on La Russa's behalf, but Lance Lynn had I thought some telling quotes that were out there in black and white of La Russa needed daily naps. He was, speaking softly, throughout the beginning of the year. We knew something was wrong. We couldn't really hear him. We knew there was some heart issues going on, but we know that there's so much more, and he'll never say anything to anybody because he's that type of person. Like that quote from Lynn, it was like, why is this a good idea to have La Russa even starting this year? Like, why? It sounded like things were bad from the get-go with him. And I only think more is going to come out. And I'd be fascinated if there was like a tell-all. I don't know if that would ever happen, but people know a lot more than we know. That's on the surface right now.
Yeah. And that's the type of thing, Nick, that would take a lot of time, I think, because you've got I don't think stuff like that comes out well. Players that were on that team are currently with
it would have to happen years down the line.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like they're retired from the game type of situation.
Yes.
Or
10 years maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that'll be
though.
great to kind of, because there's a lot of juicy stories, I'm sure that's there, but and very interesting and fascinating things that I'm sure that had to be done behind the scenes just to get the team on the field and somewhat managed.
Yeah. There's just such a different feeling right now. And the more you read about player reactions, and I think this World Baseball Classic is good for the White Sox. If I was a New York Mets fan or a Houston Astros fan, I'd probably thinking obviously much different from the injuries sustained by Edwin Diaz and now Jose Altuve. Just recently, they're going to be missing significant time. And of course, the World Baseball Classic is not over yet. So I don't want to speak too soon, but that's something I want to get later in this episode. Of someone brought it up on Twitter that I thought was a great comment of like the highs of these games, the intensity of these games. Could there potentially be a letdown by the participants when they come back to Glendale, or when they're facing these, seemingly meaningless games in early April, but I feel like they're extremely important. I think there should be some urgency, but it's 50 degrees and you're in Detroit. You're like, man, just a couple weeks ago, a month ago, I was on the world stage, where it was just an electric atmosphere. Like
Yeah.
it's those highs and lows. So that's something to think about. But this could be breaking news. This could be the news of the day. I don't know. I was walking down 35th Street today in the neighborhood, and they've got all the new banners up on 35th Street. They've got all the light post banners that they do. All of the players, they take them down almost immediately right after the season, and then they put up, new designs, new graphics, a fresh look with some of the new faces. And you'll see other, dressing up around the stadium as the days and, shortly weeks come. There'll be new stuff. And I want to talk a little bit about Lot B too. But guess who has got their own sign on a light post on 35th Street? Oscar Colas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the GOAT, LG, Leary. I thought maybe it's like we're stamping it. We're doubling down. Do you remember the big banner that LeBron James had like on the side of a building in Cleveland one time? Yeah. That's what I expect for Leary someday. It's just going to be draped over the entire front of the stadium.
Thank you, Leary. Never leave us.
I can't believe
he's going to have some. I can't believe they kept me around, and I was able to do everything I did. Nowhere else could I have ever done what I did and got the playing time I did. I don't, those banners go all the way east past the red line as you approach Bronzeville. So I didn't go all the way. There might have been a Lurie one down there. I'll have to go and check it out tomorrow because the Sports Depot opens back up for the season tomorrow. So I'll be there.
Oh yes,
checking
your third
out the
home.
Latest.
It's either Grandstand. You get mail at Grandstand.
I do.
I do. And then you stop at the depot and you pick up a gallon of milk.
I get the news. I get the latest. I get
the latest news from who?
The neighborhood news. What's going on? Hey, someone at the depot several months ago are the one that told me that they thought the original Comiskey Park was going to get a moment in all this construction. And sure enough, I think that's happening.
Look at you.
I think that's happening.
You're putting that journalism degree that we got
I know, finally,
23 years ago or whatever it was.
After the fact, 20 years ago, we graduated. And I'm using my communications, my broadcasting journalism.
Look at you.
Unbelievable. That's a lesson to everybody out there. It's just the long play.
Hey,
the absolute
don't ever forget that Colonel Sanders didn't make his first or sell his first chicken until he was in his 60s.
There you go.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Investigative reporter Nick Murawski.
Yeah,
man on the street.
Well, I'll get to something about that in a little bit too. Remind me
about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Remind me of credentials. Just remind me about credentials.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to talk about.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Remind Nick about credentials.
So anyway, Colas has got a banner, Pat, on 35th Street. I mean, they're not putting banners up for guys that are going to be in Charlotte playing for the Charlotte Knights. So you got to think that maybe the Sox tipped their hand a little bit. Not that it was, not that it was a crazy situation to say he was going to make the team. I mean, he's hitting the daylights out of the ball. He hit his third home run on Sunday of spring. I mean, his slash line is nice. He's got to clean up some things with maybe throws into second and, maybe how he dives for a ball. But again, he's been serviceable out there. That's fine with me. He's been handling himself so well at the plate. So I thought that was pretty big. Will he, won't he? I think the banner tells you he's going to be there in right field.
Well, Jerry doesn't pay for banners for guys that aren't going to be there. Let's be, and I wouldn't worry about any of the feeling. I mean, Daryl Boston's still here for a reason, Nick. He'll just put his hands on him and say, "This is how you play the outfield." And
you want to hear Daryl Boston's quote? This I thought was.
Does he speak?
He did speak. There was a Daryl Boston quote in the Sun Times recently about Colas's defense, and Boston said he's not far. We've had guys way worse than that out there. He's definitely going to be ready. I just thought that was that really, that's
way worse. They currently are still here on the team. They were way worse.
I thought that was far from the ringing praise that you'd want But hey, I mean, he's young, man, and I don't think they're going to just hand him anything. They're going to continue to make him work to get better. But with the bat, I don't think you can deny him.
You can't, and he is better than what they've had, which is a upgrade. Let's be honest. The outfield is significantly upgraded with Benintendi in left and Colas in right. You still got Luis Robert Jr. Roaming the outfield, assuming that he's cleared up the issues that he had with the vertigo or whatever he was dealing with last year. Hopefully that is past him and he returns back to a Gold Glove status center fielder. So the outfield is markedly better than it was last year. And I'll take a better than the terrible right field that we've been used to. And listen, guys could be well served to, you're talking about diving for balls. One of the things that I think is almost a lost art, or maybe it's a tough skill to learn. Remember how Maglio Ordonez never really dove for anything. If he couldn't get to it, especially balls he was coming in on, it was that sliding catch that, like you're sliding into second base, that pop slide. I think you teach guys that type of move, avoid injury instead of diving on your belly. If you can't, I want guys to play all out. But let's play smart too. If you can't make a play on it, don't be diving all over the place. Keep the ball in front of you and keep guys from advancing. If you're a minus outfielder, keep the ball in front of you and let's make the proper fundamentally sound plays out there and make things that'll keep the ball in front of you. If you leave your feet and diving forward or diving to the left or diving to the right, if you don't catch it and knock it down, the ball's getting by you. You got a better chance of just getting in front of it and cutting it off.
Yeah, I think that that feet first slide, that has a lot to do with seeing the ball right off the bat. Like you're getting a good break. If you freeze for even just a nanosecond, or maybe your first break is back, you're not going to get that baseball type of feet first slide, and I thought Mags was just such a great outfielder, and there's others that have made that their kind of thing. But if you are not seeing the ball, man, you're just, that's a desperation move, is to just be diving, especially if you're diving forward. You just didn't see it off the bat at all, and you're trying to make up ground. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's almost like teaching, when you're teaching young kids, catching maybe catching a fly ball, and where it's at and like their belt line. Are you going with your glove like in a basket, or are you putting your glove up and catching it more of a traditional way? It's that split second. You can't be like you handcuffed. And that'll come, I think, of just knowing the situations. But then he's got to know a whole league outfield though.
Yeah.
Like he's going to have to figure out, man, I mean, they're playing all teams. Not that he has like any background, but that's where you're going to get out there ahead of time. That's where Boston, if he's going to be of service, he's seen all the outfields, because Boston's been around, he's never going anywhere, and he's been around for a long time. So like, that's where he's got to look at Colas and say, like, look, man, these are your angles. This is what you're looking for. This is how the ball's going to slice and all that stuff.
It'll be interesting to see when a guy like that for the first time through plays in Boston, right? Not Darryl Boston, but in Boston against the Red Sox in that right field, and plays against the Dodgers with that short fence that they have out in right field, and the way that's cut and weird.
Yeah.
And, there's some, and in Minnesota where you've got, the overhang of that upper deck that kind of hangs over, which is, makes it strange sight lines and not traditional outfields that you're going to have. So he's got a little bit of a learning curve, but let's face it. If he's going to be somewhat of as long as he can be athletic enough to make the routine plays, and I said this about Eloy Jimenez, but Eloy just can't get out of his own way most of the time. Just, play. I hate this term, but play within yourself, know your limitations. He's good enough defensively just to be, an above average fielder. I don't need him to be a Gold Glove right fielder. I don't need him to be that. I just need him to be, in the alleyways, cutting off things he can cut off, keeping the ball in front of him, making the routine plays. And that's about it. That's all that, again, the bar is very low weren't you talking to White Sox fans about right field?
Yeah.
So I think he
Yeah.
can do that and be reminded that, you know, you're here for the majority of the reason because of the bat that you provide.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And you need to just be better than a Gavin Sheets in right field.
Be better than Gavin Sheets.
See this guy right here?
Here's
Love
the video.
Gavin.
Here's
Wonderful,
the montage on
person.
Gavin in right field. If you could just sit down and watch this, that's all. That's where the bar's at right now. You just got to beat him out there and let. Hey, and Gavin might see some time out there. I hope not.
He will,
but
he will. Nick, he will. Let's not kid ourselves. He will see some time, whether it's injury or getting some. He'll need his bat in the lineup for whatever reason, or
it's a long
he's going to get.
He's
going to get some opportunities out there. So let's just hope that they're not, in situations where it's a tight game and you're going to need defense out there.
Yeah,
I think he'll be put in situations to succeed, but he will be in the outfield at some point this year.
Well, Pedro Grifol wants versatility. We're looking at this utility bench that seems to be, and I will say bullpen too. A lot of folks are calling for a guy like Nick Avila. I call him Avila. The Cleveland announcers last week were calling him Avila. We're going to have to wait for Gene Honda on the ruling of how you're pronouncing this gentleman's name. But he was a Rule 5 guy this past winter, and Rick Hahn seemed to say, like, look, I'm not going to take a Rule 5 pick unless I think someone can help us right now. And I haven't really been impressed with what he's been doing. And he's been getting a lot of show. Guys that have kind of come on as of late, like Tanner Banks is having a really good spring, 6 innings and pretty clean too. He would be useful as a lefty. We're short on lefties right now. Gregory Santos had one heck of a game on Friday on St. Patrick's Day against the Cubs. He's throwing 100 miles per hour. Grifol, nothing but praise for this guy, but he's young. He's 23 years old. I don't know if he's right now or if he's maybe later in the year or maybe at a different time, but that's encouraging, that we've got some arms. And this is what you and I always say around spring training is like bullpen arms emerge. They just all of a sudden kind of emerge. Guys win battles. Guys get to show their stuff, and other guys regress. Guys you used to be able to rely on, not so much anymore. Like their shelf life is over. So the bullpen battle is something to watch. If they take 8 guys, right now it could be 6 righties, 2 lefties. I wish that was a little different, but the utility bench situation, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Sebi Zavala is going to make the club. He's going to be your backup catcher, and he should. He has been swinging the bat well. He had a double and a home run on Sunday. He's got 3 home runs, I think, for the spring, and his defense has improved from what a lot of folks are saying. So then that leaves like probably 3 position players, and you got, Garcia is the guy that's the money man. I'm starting to see some players that are kind of leapfrogging him a bit. Like Hanser Alberto had another good game on Sunday. He's hitting something like 450 in the spring. He's hitting for a little bit of power. He could play a variety of different positions. Romy Gonzalez had his first home run on Friday against the Cubs. He had a double today against the Mariners. I don't think he's given me enough to say that, he's going to be on the club right now. Gavin Sheets is going to make it. So you've got Gavin Sheets, Grifol wants versatility. Sheets can give you first base, DH, and he could probably give you some outfield, some corner outfield. So Sebi, Sheets, I like Alberto. I really do. And then are you saying Garcia? What about Billy Hamilton? I don't. You could make such a strong argument for Billy Hamilton. The culture, the chemistry. He is a defender, man. It's not just a warm body out there. He can play defense as a late game, addition, and he's got the speed. And with the new rules, he could be an absolute game changer. He's not going to give you any pop whatsoever with the bat, So do you sacrifice that? Oh boy, I'm watching the World Baseball Classic, and I believe Yohan Moncada's down on the ground.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you at all. As we're recording this.
Oh Lord in heaven!
Cuba and the USA are playing. USA is winning 13-2 or something like that. And I believe I just saw number 10, Yohan Moncada, collide with the left fielder, and might be down on the ground. So
Okay, well, let's
we'll see. I'll see after commercial break. But
now that my heart has stopped. All right.
yeah,
Well, we'll get back to that. Please report better things.
I will.
He wasn't grabbing his leg in any way, shape, or form, was he?
No, he was on the ground, and I don't know if he collided with his head or. I just here we are talking about World Baseball Classic, and it's exciting, and I've enjoyed it. And Houston has been having some injuries, and the Mets, and I just we'll see what happens.
If you knock heads with, I'd rather have someone just get a little his bell rung a little bit rather than a pulled muscle or a oblique or a hamstring. Is that wrong of me to say? I think he can come back a little better if he just had his bell rung a little bit. Anyway,
it's definitely Moncada. It's definitely Moncada. We don't know now the extent of what happened. So,
well, again, using that journalism reporting skills. Thank you for keeping us updated, Nick. Let's get back to what we were talking about before
bench and utility. I mean, I think that's the most intriguing situation right now.
Well, you brought up Billy Hamilton. I did listen to, I think it was one of the episodes this past week on Locked On Sox when you were talking about your buddy James Fegan writing about this, and Fegan's thought about filling out these roster spots. I really would love to see Billy Hamilton make this club, because I think the intangibles you talked about, I'm not worried about the pop in the bat, because let's face it, if you're looking for pop in the bat from Billy Hamilton, or if you're looking for pop in the bat from the 26th guy in your roster, or whatever it is, if it's 27, what is the rosters now? You can
26.
go to 26 still. If you're looking for pop in the bat from your 26th guy, I think then you're missing something from the rest of your team. Right. That's not what I need. I need guys that can do different things on the field. And Billy Hamilton, I love the fact that he can steal a base. I love the fact that you can put him in as a defensive replacement and feel relatively comfortable with him covering some ground and catching it, up to things. And I like the fact that you have a guy like that that's a culture guy in your clubhouse that's going to provide you things when he's not in the game, when he's on the bench and talking with his teammates. So that's where I would go with it, but that's maybe not the right thing.
I like that thinking. I like that thinking a lot. That makes sense. You want somebody in your pocket, kind of that, like, I've got a burner. I've got somebody that could really be a disruptor late in the game, in a tight game. Keeps everybody off balance, and he could play some defense. I just feel like with Garcia as a lock pretty much because of what he's owed, it hurts the whole. If Garcia wasn't a lock, man, it would be a lot easier, and it just feels like he is not winning. He's definitely not winning a position. I don't think Garcia is doing, and right at this point, anywhere enough to, yes, he can do a lot of different things, but other guys have proven that they can, and they're getting more praise from Grifol.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Leary Garcia, his time is kind of numbered. I don't think he gets a DFA situation right now. It might take till June until that kind of thing happens. But I again, if it was Romy Gonzalez and Romy was head and shoulders above, and he was showing out, it's like, okay, it makes it easy because they've been putting him in different situations and different spots on the field to be that utility guy. But because Leary Garcia is a switch hitter, he can do multiple things and play multiple positions. That's probably why he's going to make this team and not Romy Gonzalez. But I'd like to see it the other way. But let's just get comfortable with the fact that it's going to happen. Because even though Grifol has not sung his praises, even though Grifol, it's not his guy, the money, the year left, all the things I just mentioned leads me to believe that he's making this club.
I talked to Herb Lawrence from CHGO, former Locked On White Sox host, good friend of this podcast as well. And he all but said that, in our conversation last week, like Luis Garcia is on this team. So just the way, though, that certain guys like Hanser Alberto are playing, there is some competition there. There are some people, some utility guys that are definitely leapfrogging what Lurie's given you at this point. So, in terms of pitching, Dylan Cease was added on Sunday. Like what I saw, 4 innings. It was shaky the first inning, but really settled down. Broadcasters were talking about stuff in the 95, 96 mile per hour range. There was a guy mic'd up for the Mariners, and he was commenting on when Cease would throw a slider, just the difference that 95, 96 mile per hour fastball is like that range of speed and what the eye has to get used to. And I think that's just such a great point of how you kind of can lull people to sleep with your off speed stuff. And then bam, punch him in the mouth. But I do, Pat, and let's talk about this for a second. I think in general for Dylan Cease, though, this year, the game plan from the opposition is to attack Cease early. You don't want to get 2 strikes and because Dylan Cease then has got an array of different things that he could slice you up with. I think it's jump on Cease early. And that could be a good or a bad thing. That might limit some of Dylan Cease's pitches. There might be more balls in play, not as many strikeouts. And I'm wondering if, that will frustrate him to a point where, he's going to try, because I think by nature he wants to be that strikeout pitcher. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Ethan Katz gets in his ear and says, hey, if they are going to help extend your time during a game by getting themselves out or swinging at pitches early, let them. Yeah. We got defense behind you. I just think there's going to be a specific game plan for him.
I respect your opinion, but I would do the other way. If I was talking to my lineup, Dylan Cease is the guy that still walks a lot of people, right? And he's shown in the past, outside of last year, to pile up the pitches before the 5th inning or so. So if you want to get to a Dylan Cease, you're not going to get many pitches to hit anyway. I think I would praise, to my guys, patience. If you get struck out, you get struck out. But I would ask them, pile up as many pitches on him to get him out of the game sooner rather than later. So I understand your point. But knowing that he's still, not proven to be a guy that's, going to limit his walks, I would go the other way. I would say, let's work him as much as we can. We get outs in the early innings, fine, but we'd rather have Dylan Cease out of the ball game in the 5th inning rather than him going deep into the 7th, probably not the 8th anymore, not in this day and age, but, into the 7th inning.
Yeah, that is something he has to clean up. He throws a lot of pitches, and if a slider's not on and he's trying to force that slider, he can rack up the walks. That got him into trouble in that Kansas City start, and he's only gotten better with every start. So that's something to watch. Good news is that he is feeling healthy. He feels like he's on track. I don't think he's been as sharp as he would like, but he's still ramping up a little bit. Kopech got, his second start on Saturday against the Dodgers. I didn't think he looked as clean at all than his first start, which was the last time we were talking against the Angels. Better lineup with the Dodgers for sure. He seemed to be working on a couple things. Again, I don't think he's given up an earned run at all. This is all nitpicky stuff. I don't think he felt as gassed because of the pitch clock, getting used to that. In reading some of his quotes, he still sounds like the knee is not 100%, like I'm still almost rehabbing. The wording, how he phrases things leads me to believe that he might not be like all systems go. Yeah. But the arm seems to be there.
Well, that's interesting, Nick. He probably can't let it fly the way he wants to. And there's some things to think about too with these guys, like a Cease, like a Kopech, that have devastating breaking stuff. When you're pitching out in Arizona where the air is a little bit thinner, it's not going to bite as much as it will when you get to Chicago. Now you're going to have a difference in temperature when you get here, so it's going to be hard to find the grip. So this early on, how the pitchers have to navigate going from Arizona, where the ball is going to be, a little bit flatter than it will be here when you get back up to Chicago, but your grips is not going to be as good because your hand's going to be colder. So this first part of the year for pitchers is going to be, a little bit trial and error, even though you tell me, when you pitched, and obviously through your high school and college career, you've always pitched in cold weather because that was the season you played in was early spring. You weren't playing in July. So you were always pitching in cold weather. Was that an advantage for you, or was that tougher for you in terms of working through a game? Because obviously it's not fantastic for a hitter to be standing up in the box when it's 35 degrees. So, who has the more of the advantage early on in the season?
I thought pitchers had the advantage. It's cold coming off the bench. You really, with metal bats, that's the other thing in high school that you can kind of play to your advantage. Nobody wants to get stung like that in the cold weather. If you're in on somebody's hands, it's tough to go from, a resting position to a swinging position. That's just, the nature of things. So I thought, I kind of had the advantage. They don't want to swing, it's cold. But I thought breaking stuff for me was better when it was warmer. It was when it was just a little, it was warmer out. And there was a tackiness to the air, so to speak. Now, maybe others will tell you different, but you're also, you got to get loosened up as a pitcher. That was something that was a little difficult. But once you get into a groove and you're getting a good sweat going, throwing pitches in repeatable motion, like the cold weather doesn't bother you too much. It really doesn't. Again, like I think that, man, pitching in Chicago and the Chicagoland area, and then now playing Major League Baseball in cold weather after being in Arizona for so long. That's why I think it is difficult, man, in April. It's an adjustment for some of these players.
Yeah.
And some of these players that, did not grow up in the United States, did not play baseball in the United States. They didn't go to college in the United States. Like it is difficult.
Yeah.
That's why I think you see a lot of players like that just are slow into the season.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Again, I went off on a tangent there, and I appreciate the insight, but I'm with you. And it's a little bit concerning with Michael Kopech, and it doesn't seem like he's letting it fly, but I'm okay giving him a little time to work through this process and not try and push it too hard. So it's a re-injury type of thing. I want this to be really a jumping off point for Michael Kopech of his season and get to the point where he's just kind of building on certain things. So I'm start by start, month by month basis. It's like, okay, I've overcome that thing. Now my knee feels more like 100%. Now let's see if I can push it a little bit more, and just kind of doing those building blocks up to the point where hopefully he's the pitcher that we brought in here when we traded for him. And he's more of the top line starter that we've been hoping for, that we've seen in glimpses. And we want to see that guy that we saw in 2021 that was coming out of the bullpen. We want to see that guy every fifth day starting for us and really just be an electric starter.
30 plus starts, 180 innings. Boy, if you can get something like that from Kopech, it would be such a game changer to the starting rotation. Mike Clevenger threw on Friday against the Cubs. He had a rough outing, gave up a couple home runs. His second start of the spring. And it sounded like he was really just doing sequence stuff. He was just working on things and trying to throw, change ups and stuff to lefties and then to righties. And he had a whole explanation of what he was trying to do. It was extremely spring training worthy of, this is just a laboratory for me. I'm just trying different stuff out because we haven't done it before. And it didn't really work. He got tagged a few times. From his quotes, he got up to, I think, 65 pitches, which is what he wants. He thinks maybe 80 his next start, and then it's like all systems go after that. So, he seems to be healthy. It wasn't a very sharp outing at all. And, he's one of those guys that got flagged for his rotation. as being a balk, or it was an illegal windup, I should say, not rotation, but like, his windup. The commissioner's office was like, that's one of the ones we're cracking down on. So he's kind of had to learn a new rhythm, a new windup, and he looked really herky jerky. I mean, he's normally kind of herky jerky in his windup, but he really looked like, toe tapping stuff, and he looked like he was trying to find himself of like what is going to be, what's going to be my repeatable motion. So we still have time there.
Yeah, work it out here. I'm okay. I'm okay with guys are working on stuff, and it's well known. It's known by your teammates. It's known by everybody involved. So you don't have like this panic attack of, oh my God, this is what it's gonna be. This is a great time to work all that stuff out. That's why nobody should really get all hot and bothered about wins and losses right now in spring training. I don't get too hot and bothered about guys if they get tagged, or I don't get too high or too low at this time of year. It's not really all that it's not worth it, really. It's like, get healthy, make sure you're hearing the right things, right? Like it's like, okay, I was working on this today, didn't really trying to get this going, and it just wasn't breaking the way I wanted it to, but now I've kind of learned from that. This is what it's all about, right, Nick? So again, I don't know if Clevenger is going to be a fantastic starter for us. I don't really know what the future holds for him. He's here. He's with this team. He's our 5th starter as it is right now. Let's hope that he can be, the bar is low, right? Can you be better than Dallas Keuchel? Just like Oscar Colas. Look, can you be better than Gavin Sheets in the outfield? It's like, okay, here's what we had from Dallas Keuchel. Mike Clevenger, can you be somewhat better than this guy? And I think if he is, then we're in for a real treat, Nick.
Yeah, you can break camp with some healthy pitching. We didn't have that last year. Lance Lynn was sidelined. We got him late, and obviously the bullpen is kind of a work in progress right now because of the Crochet situation, and obviously Liam Hendricks in a battle, and wishing him well as always. So I do think, you're going to rely on your bullpen, I think, more than you think in April and in May, because pitchers are going to still be trying to get their legs. And they might not be giving you very many innings, and you're going to have to rely on a bullpen that there's some question marks right now for this White Sox team. Offensively, I like what I've seen. Some guys are starting to come around. Again, not a lot of injuries. Like, we'll wait to see what we hear about with Moncada. Maybe Berger's going to get some time now. He's been swinging the bat. Boy, he continues to hit the baseball. Andrew Vaughn, that's one of the only few injury reports that we've gotten as of late. He's missed some time because of lower back stuff. He hasn't been playing as of late. Grifol doesn't sound very concerned. He took some ground balls on Sunday. If it was a regular season game or it mattered, he'd probably be in there. But then is he pushing an issue? Is he going to play through some lower back thing that's only going to get worse as the season goes on? He had some back inflammation at the end of last season. He's had some hip issues. He's had, leg soreness because of all of his outfield play. But the back has been something that we've flagged. Like, if that back can be right, boy, the sky's the limit. And that worries me a little bit, hearing about, some back soreness from Andrew Vaughn right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Nick, especially since it's been a reoccurring discussion with the back. And, I'm no doctor. I didn't know, that's not a, breaking news or anything. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that the back will affect everything else in your body, right? If your forearm hurts, it's you can probably still function in other ways, and you can work around that. But if you got a creaky back, it's gonna affect everything that you do on the field. So that's a little bit of a concern for me, Nick. It's just something to watch. I hope it's just more precautionary than anything else. But the fact that he's having some back problems in spring, it's not the greatest of news in the world. But again, it's not the first time we've heard it either. So
could be spring aches and pains. He's played a lot of games. Grifol sounds like hey, we like what we're seeing. He likes
Mm,
what he's seeing. The swing is right. It's just I don't like hearing that like now that has been a reoccurring thing. Like
mm.
it's popping up. Like I don't know. Like Romy Gonzalez had some soreness. He missed a handful of games, but came back. Hit a home run on Friday, hit a double on Sunday. So maybe it's something along those lines. You know.
Well, it's again, there's no reason to push guys, especially guys that are going to be on the ball club, right?
Yeah.
You know, Andrew Vaughn is making he's going to be on this club. So let's go. Okay, we don't really need to see you every day. I don't need to see you. I know what you can do. So if you've got a problem, let's get you some rest and get it now. You know, rather than when the
Let it
season
happen
starts.
now.
Let
Yeah.
it happen now.
Yeah.
Let's kind of work it out and get you stretched out. You know, there's no reason to push it. Again, we know the book on you. We know what you're going to provide. You're starting in the lineup, and you're going to probably be playing first base most often.
So I teased some stadium stuff with the banners. So the banners are up on 35th Street. You know, there's going to be some other stuff happening over the next several days as they're finalizing all the construction work that they've done in Lot B. And if you've driven past the stadium, specifically Lot B, which is a very popular lot, you'll
Mhm.
find at the south end of the lot there is a lot of AstroTurf. There's a lot of turf that they put on that is not something that we've seen. A lot of concrete, a lot of asphalt in that area. Not sure what the grand plan is for it, but aesthetically, it looks very, very different. And there does look to be like a little cement wall surrounding the old Comiskey Park area, and there's
Mm.
bollards around all of that. Like you couldn't even have access with a car now to get past that. So a different look. It's going to be very different as you're walking through that area. And that again is the area you would go to the Shy Sox Grill, and obviously you can enter the stadium that way, and then the Sports Depot's over there as well. And it's a very popular lot to tailgate, Lot B. So that stuff fascinates me, as do the new like food and drink items that are always going to be rolled out. I am trying to get to this event on Wednesday to get some credentials to
Oh, that's what I had to write my note down. Ask Nick
yeah.
about. I can cross
So
this off my list.
yeah.
All right, cross this
So
off.
I might be able to go to this event on Wednesday. I think it's happening this Wednesday, March 22nd.
Hmm.
They're going to unveil at the stadium, probably like at the club level or wherever the restaurant is, all of the new offerings that they're going to have. So I'm going to see if I can get an inside
Look at you.
look.
So,
Yeah.
so have you seen has the items been announced, or are these going to
No,
be like unveiled? Like
I
it's an
have not heard
unveiling event.
I haven't heard the items yet. That
Okay.
that usually happens like the day before or the day, and
Mm.
then you'll start seeing pictures from folks that have media access. So I'm trying to see if I can
So
do this.
you've been to a lot of ballparks, Nick. You've
Yeah,
been to out of what? No, what? There's got to be what maybe 30 ballparks, right across Major League.
yeah,
Does anybody share anything anymore? Nobody shares anything. Whatever it is, you've been to a lot of ballparks. Let's say
yeah.
20 plus. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen. I think the Sox in 18 different ballparks, and then I've gone to a couple ballparks when just to see a baseball game. The Sox weren't playing, but I went to the ballpark.
Is there a particular item that you saw at a different ballpark that you'd say that'd be fantastic for us to have as a concession item? Is there one thing that you go,
Uh,
whoa, that would be great? Like, okay, now we've got nachos in a helmet. Maybe we do nachos inside of a baseball bat bag, like a whole bag of nachos.
What about just like
You just
tortilla
wheel it
chips
around.
that like are like shaped like baseballs, and they have nacho cheese in the baseball?
Oh
You just eat
yes,
them
inject
like a
it.
hand fruit, and you just eat them like an apple.
Well, that'd be a little
See,
messy. You'd have to do it in like
oh yeah,
one bite.
Okay,
Be
so bite size, little
Yeah,
pop,
be
you just
like,
pop them in your mouth,
well, you
just
ever
like
see a lion eat an ostrich egg? That's what it
oh,
would
of
be like.
course,
Watch
sure.
the Discovery Channel.
Mhm.
You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's just on loop. If
Yeah.
I go to the Discovery Channel and in the first 10 minutes I don't see a lion eating an ostrich egg, you'll hear it from me. Yeah, you will
Okay.
get a
I
text from
can't
me.
wait. You've got
Yeah,
nothing going on.
nothing. it's so geographical. Like, Pittsburgh had some really great barbecue. They had some really
Hmm.
good. So does Kansas City. How about some of the barbecue at Kansas City? Um, Pittsburgh had the pierogies. Baltimore's got like the crab fries with the you know that's all stuff that is specific to their region. I don't know if
Yeah.
it would hit if you brought it over to Sox Park.
Yeah.
People might not get too into it. Like like bacon wrapped sausages, and we're beef oriented, and the Comiskey burger, which I think is one of the best burgers you're going to find at a ballpark. That seems to be the driving force. I think it's different, regionally. It's more of I like going and like going to the stadium and saying, "What's the thing? What's the thing to get here?
Yeah.
That makes your area, your city, your ballpark so unique." And I
Yeah.
don't know if it would translate bringing it, to
Well,
Sox
if I
Park.
know anything about this ball club and that stadium, the food they get right. Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes the things on the field don't work, and the decision making in the offseason doesn't always pan out. But usually, and no pun intended, they hit it out of the ballpark when it comes to the food selection. So I'm interested to see. I hope you get a credential, and I
Yeah.
hope that, like, it's gonna be like, remember when you got married? Did you get to go like do like the food tasting before your? Did you do that for your reception or no?
Yeah, I think we did definitely cake. I think we
Yeah,
like
like
tasted
a
some of
cake
the
tasting.
product.
Okay.
We had cupcakes, so I think we got like a dozen cupcakes to take home and
Could have
just
been the
eat.
best part about getting married is the food tasting and the
Yep.
cake tasting. I just kidding. I love you, Katie. She'll
Yeah.
never watch this
Hmm.
ever or listen to
Yep.
this, but I do love my wife.
Hmm.
That's a joke.
That is a joke, and you're a jokester. So
I am a jokester.
it just all makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But this time of year, there's always, they always roll out all the new food and bev stuff, and those things are happening. It's exciting, man. I mean, we're
And
about at
Tuesdays.
what
Tuesday's going to be
Tuesdays?
$5, so
Yeah,
we can
$5
have
items.
our hot
Yeah,
dog eating contest. You and me
yeah,
just staring each other
yeah,
down
yeah,
like two cowboys in the street, and like a
yeah.
duel happening.
$5 hot dogs, $5 16-ounce Miller Lite and Modelo.
Oh,
Tuesday's
baby
gonna
girl.
get weird. Normally in the left center bleachers, it's been getting kind of weird on
Mhm.
Friday and Saturday nights. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I think Tuesdays it's gonna get.
Tuesday's a new Saturday?
Yeah, it could be. You've heard
Tuesday's a
it.
new
Yeah,
Saturday.
you heard it here. It could be in the summer.
So,
Absolutely.
just bank on just clear the guest bedroom now for me
Yep.
on Tuesday nights. I'm just gonna sleep
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
I'm completely fine with it. I
Okay.
also have like a tent we could put in the backyard if you
Oh,
just need
the
to air
rats.
out a
Can't
little
do it.
bit. Yeah, right. City rats.
Yeah, city rats. Can't do it.
City rats. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll figure something out for you. I'll garage or
At least let me
something.
come in and use the bathroom.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll figure something out. No, what are we about 2 weeks away from the home opener?
Yeah,
So
that's
10
exciting.
10 days, 11 days from opening day. This is happening here. So yeah, World Baseball Classic will wrap up. I liked what I saw from Lance Lynn this past weekend. uh Tim Anderson's been you know cooling off a little bit, but playing some second base, which I don't know what can happen in the future. But that's been a positive sign.
Well, it would be great. It would have been great if this organization would have, opened up the pocketbook and went big on one of these high price shortstops that would, have been available over the last couple of years. And you tell your all-star shortstop that, hey, maybe second base would be fantastic for you to be better for the team. But there's some short-sightedness when it
Yeah.
comes to the organization and the general manager that runs it, or maybe he's hamstrung and he can't do anything anyway. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole separate we've covered it, but I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that we're going to talk about different issues with the wallet, especially come to the trade deadline. I'm
Mm.
worried this team's going to be in contention and we're not gonna really go for it. And by contention, I mean division, really.
Yeah. Well, my new motto is expect nothing, hope for the best. I'm
There you
not going to
go.
put my hopes on big moves being made. Let's just hope that the team that we have lives up to expectations.
Hopefully next time, Pat, we're talking about health. Hopefully things go well with Moncada. We'll have to find out. It was the last thing I wanted to see as we were recording. I mean, it's a 13-2 game as we are recording in the 8th inning, and it was that score when that happened. He went running out from third base and collided with the left fielder coming in. I mean, that's the left fielder's ball every single time. I just, I hope it's not a knee. I hope it's not just something tore up.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was it?
Well,
how did it look?
I saw it. Well, all I did was I looked up and I saw him laying on the ground, and that's a 10.
Yeah.
Like it like kind of the rolling on his back, like looked like he was in some agony, and people around him, and someone like waving in the trainer. That's never. That's
okay.
That's never what you want to see.
No.
So. But it could be, just one of those kind of for effect. I don't know, world stage.
Maybe the wind got knocked out of him. Maybe you just need
that very well could happen.
Let's hope it's the wind.
The beauty is that people are going to be listening to this like in 4 days, and they're going to be like, "What are those knuckleheads? Why do they spend so much time on?" We know, we already know the situation.
So we just apologize. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, yeah. Hopefully next time we're counting down, man. I think we're gonna have our season predictions. It'll be our last episode before opening day, so we will really, get your numbers ready. This is gonna be it. It's the countdown.
It's happening, buddy. I can't wait to get to this season and talk about real games on a consistent basis. Let's hope that other people stay healthy throughout this season, the spring training season, the World Baseball Classic, and this team is, giving us some reasons to believe and get excited early on.
You got it, buddy. Always a pleasure talking White Sox with you, my friend.
Yeah, let's do it again next Sunday. What do you say?
I love it, folks. Thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that channel. Check out these live shows, usually on Sunday nights. You can find the audio, of course, of this podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. Keep passing along to other Sox fans in your life. We appreciate that. Find us on Twitter at Good Guys TV. We've got a Facebook fan page. For Pat Hester, I'm Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.